Our passage for today is Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 3. This is the evil in everything that happens under the sun. The same destiny overtakes all. The hearts of people moreover are full of evil, and there is madness in their hearts, while they live, and afterward they join the dead. Para mas maintindihan natin yung passage, I want to first define two important words. Number one is the word heart. In the biblical language, whenever we talk about the heart, we are referring to our ability to feel or the emotional part of our spirit. Kapag masaya ka, malungkot ka, naiinis ka, or naiinggit ka, these are all matters of the heart. There are also biblical passages na nagsasabi that the heart generally refers to our condition inside. So kung ano yung condition mo inside, maganda ba o pangit, yung pangloob mo, then that is referring to the heart of the person. Or in a more popular language, the heart refers to our psychological condition. Number two, evil. When the Bible uses the word evil, it means this is anything na hindi maganda sa condition ng ating spirit. Anything that will destroy the spirit inside us can be considered evil. In some biblical passages, ang tawag dyan sin or ways of the flesh. And in the Bible, napaka-specific nito in the different examples kung ano ba yung mga evils na ito. For example, Galatians 5:19-20, this includes sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, fits of anger, rivalries, dissensions, divisions, envy, drunkenness, orgies, and things like this. Again, these are all considered evil. Hindi maganda para sa ating spiritual condition. The more you have this, the less quality, the less healthy our psyche has. Later on in the history of the church, itong mga sins na ito, enumerated in the Bible, are summarized into 7 deadly sins: lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride. Again, the bottom line here is whether we are talking about the list in the Bible or the summarized version, sins or evil are things that are not good for our psychological condition. Let's go back to Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 3. Focus tayo doon sa second part. The hearts of people moreover are full of evil, and there is madness in their hearts while they live. I want you to focus on the word madness. Madness is the effect when the heart is evil. Kapag punong-puno ng evil, punong-puno ng 7 deadly sins yung ating spiritual condition, yung ating psyche, madness happens. And what is madness? If you are a psych major, kapag narinig mo yung salitang madness, the first concept you will think of is psychological disorders. We talk about psychological disorders in abnormal psychology. Basically, nagkakaroon tayo ng psychological disorder when our spirit is sick. Our bodies can get sick, so is our spirit. Kapag yung spirit natin nagkasakit, we can say that our spirit will be suffering from a form of mental illness or a psychological disorder. Again, in abnormal psychology, pinag-uusapan natin dito yung origin ng mental illness, paano ito nabubuo, or how does it develop, ano yung mga symptoms nito, and most importantly, how do we deal with different mental illnesses? We talk about that in abnormal psychology. So we can say so far, based on this discussion, makikita natin yung abnormal psychology in the Bible. But to be more specific, how can we combine the ideas of the Bible about mental illness and the ideas of psychology about mental illness? I have a proposal to make. We can say na yung mga sins na sinasabi sa Bible, the evils, the things that are not good for our spirit, ito yung mga bagay that is hindering us, that will block us, that will stop us from being mentally healthy. Let me show you what I mean by using a psychological language that I will connect to the deadly sins. Halimbawa, let's use Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Sabi ni Maslow, if you want to be mentally healthy, you need to give yourself all these needs. Mas marami kang hierarchy of needs sa buhay mo, mas maganda ang iyong mental health. mas maganda ang psychological well-being. Now, here's the problem. If your heart is full of the deadly sins, let's speak Numbers 5, 6, and 7. Halimbawa, punong-puno ka ng wrath, punong-puno ka ng envy at ng pride, this will definitely affect the way you will get love and belongingness from other people. Lahat kasi ng tao bad trip sa'yo, lagi ka kasing galit, inggitero ka, mayabang ka, so people will be rejecting you because of those things that you are showing them. At masama yan. Kapag lahat ng tao bad trip sa'yo, naiinis sa'yo, irritable sa'yo, hindi ka pinapansin, therefore, yung love and belongingness mo that you should be getting to maintain your mental health becomes compromised. Let's use another model of mental health, yung self-determination theory. Sabi ng theory, if you want to be mentally healthy, you need to receive 3 things: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. If you want to know more about these 3, you can just research this on your own or search my videos in my channel. Sinabi ko yan, diniscuss ko yan. But again, going back to my point, the more deadly sins you have in your psyche, mas hindi mo nakukuha yung autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Therefore, it will affect your overall mental health. Now, this model that I'm talking about, where these different sins stops you from being mentally healthy, can this be empirically verified? Meron ba tayong mga patunay na mga researches that indeed this is happening? I want you to consider this idea, materialism. Materialism is the philosophy or the value na tinuturo ng society natin ngayon, where people are taught to value material things. People are taught that our value, that our psychological condition depends kung gaano karaming material things meron ka. Whether that's the toys of the world or money. The more you have, the better your psychological condition is. Now, based on my description of materialism, we can say, if you want to be successful in being a materialist, kailangan mag-develop ka ng greed at ng envy. For you to gain all the things that you want, to make you happy, to make your life better, kailangan mo talagang maging greedy at maging envy or maging envious. Ang problema, greed and envy is listed in the 7 deadly sins. Ibig sabihin, greed and envy are both confirmed in the biblical passages. It is not good for our psyche. So ang tanong, what will happen to a person's psychological life if deliberately, if consciously, dinedevelop niya yung kanyang greed and envy to answer the call of materialism? Consider this study. A closer look into the materialism construct, the antecedents and consequences of materialism, and its 3 facets. To make the long story short, according to this study, it is confirmed na yung mga taong mataas ang level of materialism, therefore mataas din ang level of greed and envy, they end up not being happy with their lives, or in the biblical language, the condition of their psyche, the condition of their spirit is not good. Let me read for you one part written inside the article. Ang sabi doon, materialism is associated with reductions in one's happiness in life. Pero hindi lang ang happiness ang bumababa. Bumababa din ang subjective well-being, satisfaction with life, sense of community, and environmental goals or concerns. So kapag ikaw ay highly materialistic, mataas ang greed mo, mataas ang envy mo, these good things within your psyche goes down. At hindi nalalayo kapag yung psyche mabababa sa mga bagay na yan, the psyche is very close to suffering from mental illness. Let's go back to the passage, Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 3. Question: who are the people suffering from this kind of condition? Sino itong mga tao na maraming evil sa psyche, therefore lumalayo sa achievement of mental health? The answer is the words in red. Sabi doon sa first part ng verse 3, the same destiny overtakes all, the hearts of people. So you combine those words, all people. Sino ang may ganyang problema? Maraming sins sa psyche, therefore naapektuhan ng kanilang mental health, therefore they become mad, all people. At malaki ang implication ng passage na yan. For example, this passage is telling us that everyone to a certain degree is psychologically ill. Kasi sa traditional view natin of mental illness, we categorize people according to who is inside a mental institution and who is outside the mental institution. Ang mga taong sobrang baba ng mental health, nasa loob ng mental institution, yung mga tao na okay ang mental health, psychologically healthy, nasa labas ng mental institution. Therefore, we have this assumption na tayong mga nasa labas ng mental institution, tayong mga hindi kailangan ng antidepressants, we are psychologically healthy. But if we are going to consider what Ecclesiastes 9:3 is saying, all people have madness in their hearts, medyo hindi tama yung ganong model of psychological illness. Ang sinasabi dito, lahat ng tao to a certain degree, meron tayong mental illness. It's just that some people, sobrang lakas ng expression ng mental illness, while some people, sobrang konti lang ng expression of mental illness. But here's the point, and this is very important. Mental illness or psychological disorder is not a matter of category, but rather a matter of degree. Not a matter of category. Ibig sabihin, wala ito sa whether nasa labas ka o nasa loob ka ng mental institution, whether kumukuha ka ba ng antidepressant o hindi. Okay? Whether nag-antidepressant ka o hindi, nasa labas ka man ng mental institution o nasa loob, lahat tayo to a certain degree, meron na tayong mental illness. Because again, going back to the passage, all our spirits, lahat tayo, meron tayong mga sins within our spirit which make us mad to a certain extent. Let me repeat, psychological disorder is not a matter of category but rather a matter of degree. In fact, kung iisipin mo tong idea na sinasabi ko, Sigmund Freud will agree. In his book, Psychopathology of Everyday Life, meron siyang sinabi about this. Ang sabi niya, the boundary between the normal and abnormal human psyche is unstable and we are all bit neurotic. I want to emphasize that, and that we are all a bit neurotic. Lahat ng tao, again, whether you are under medication or not, whether you are inside or outside a mental institution, we are all a bit neurotic. Very consistent with what the Bible is saying, that all people, to a certain extent, we have madness in our hearts as we live. In fact, sa New Testament, Jesus also confirms the idea na lahat ng tao talaga, deep inside their hearts, marami tayong sins that affect our mental health. Sins that make us mad to a certain extent in our lives. Jesus said in Mark 7:20-23, that which cometh out of the man, that defileth the man. Yung mga bagay na nasa loob, na de-defile yung tao. What are those things that defile a man? Jesus enumerates. Anong sabi niya dito? Out of the heart of man proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these things na binasa ko inside our spirit. And how does that affect the person? Jesus explained. Sabi niya, all these evil things, again, all those things that are not good for our spirit, come from within and defile the man. Nagkakaroon tayo ng defilement of the spirit because of this sin. And when you hear the word defile, what does it mean in the dictionary? Ibig sabihin pala niyan is to spoil, nabubulok, nadadamage yung ating psychological condition as an effect. Kapag nadadamage, kapag nai-spoil yung ating psychological condition, we end up expressing our own versions of madness. In a parallel verse to support what Jesus was saying, Romans 3:23, sino raw ang mga tao na may kasalanan? All. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And since all human beings merong sins, merong evil in their hearts, to a certain extent, those sins will make different people, will make all people to a certain extent psychologically ill. Kaya ang epekto niyan, dahil lahat tayo may kasalanan, lahat tayo merong neurosis. Consistent what Sigmund Freud was saying in his book. In closing, I want to leave you with a question. How can we deal with this madness? Yung sinasabi na madness sa Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 3. Everyone has evil in their hearts that leads to madness, that leads to psychological disorder. Now, what? What can we do about this? Ito ngayon yung pag-uusapan natin in our next episodes here in Psyche in God's Word. Salamat sa pakikinig. I hope you learned something. I'll see you next time. Thank you and God bless.